Now to our mate Eachway Albo. This bloke is hopeless. Remember, not even half of all Labor supporters think that this bloke should be their preferred Prime Minister. And of all of the things that he could have said and done today to either further his political cause or raise important issues in the federal parliament, he decided that at question time, bang on 2 o'clock Canberra time, he didn't have any questions for the Prime Minister. Instead, he had a stunt. His stunt was that the Parliament should grind to a halt so we can congratulate the good people of Victoria, but also find a way to praise Daniel Andrews. This is what happened when question time was supposed to start.
I seek leave to move the following motion: that the House, 1, commends the people of Victoria for the sacrifices they have made in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. 2, congratulates the people of Victoria for their achievement in overcoming the second wave. We wish all Victorians well going forward. We ask that this be conveyed to the Victorian Premier on behalf of the Victorian people, and we say, well done.
But all he had was one piece of paper, the one piece of paper that had the motion on it. And the expectation was that the government would deny this motion. So Labor MPs took to Twitter as he took to his feet, assuming that Scott Morrison would ban a discussion in favour of the people of Victoria. Rob Mitchell, retweeted by Tim Watts, says that Albo moves a motion to thank the people, the public of Victoria and the people for the great work during the pandemic. Scott Morrison declined the opportunity to do the statement by leave. No leadership by PM. The only problem is the Prime Minister didn't just call his political bluff, but he went, OK, fine. Remember, he said at the start of the lockdown, we are all Victorians. He has never bagged the people of Victoria. We can all chew gum and walk at the same time. We know the difference between the people of Victoria and their ridiculous government. So the Prime Minister, well, he said, OK. And this is part of what he said in response.
Question: is the motion moved by the Leader of the Opposition be agreed to? I call the Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, and I indeed would have been happy to second the motion, Mr Speaker. I join with the Leader of the Opposition, and I believe it is very important that this Parliament today come together and express its thanks and gratitude to the people of Victoria.
But I only had this one piece of paper. The stunt was that I was going to call the motion and you're supposed to deny it, and then everyone's supposed to tweet, and then Twitter will feed into the analysis of the bubble, and then on the drum on Channel 2. Oh, I've got to speak. The bloke who said the most important thing the Australian Parliament had to do today was to praise the people of Victoria had nothing to say. This was just a couple of minutes into his entire speech.
It is important, and indeed no issue could be more important to deal with in this Parliament than this resolution that I've moved here in this Parliament. Victorians, of course, on the weekend even had to endure watching an AFL Grand Final played at the Gabba. But Victorians showed their resilience by the fact that 2 Victorian teams, Richmond and Geelong, fought out such a fantastic game on Saturday night.
Honestly, that's the best he had. The most important thing the Parliament must deal with, and Victoria is amazing because 2 Victorian teams played and people had to watch it on TV. What a surprise. Just half of Labor supporters think this bloke is the preferred Prime Minister. This bloke is floundering right now. Every single time he claims bipartisanship, but it's all about games. Today was not about thanking the people of Victoria. It was about exposing the leadership of Scott Morrison. Well, Scott Morrison didn't need the notes. He was able to speak easily about what he's believed the whole way through. We have nothing but sympathy and support for the people of Victoria. He's the PM doing the job of a leader, not playing games.
Mr Speaker, our government has stood by Victorians every single day of the lockdown that became necessary as a result of the outbreak that got out of control. As we look to the future, we cannot look to a future of lockdowns as a way of managing this virus.
Best on ground, however, Josh Frydenberg. He didn't miss.
The Victorian people have suffered so much. The pain, the cost, the loss. of Victorian people. It should have never, ever have come to this. And with the greatest respect to those opposite, the comparison is not with the United Kingdom. The comparison is not with the United States. The comparison is with New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania, and South Australia, Mr Speaker. There is an inquiry, Mr Speaker, but unless that inquiry asks everybody who has questions to answer to provide evidence, we won't get the answers and the Victorian people will be left in the dark, Mr Speaker.
The government was even so happy for this motion to continue that an offer was made to the Labor Party that all Victorian MPs would be able to speak. But of course that would mean that Bill Shorten would get a chance, and Albo shut it off at just 2 speakers. So the Twitter campaign of Labor MPs that was supposed to be today about evil Scott Morrison wouldn't let us talk about how good Victoria is, the best they could come up with, even after our very own Kieran Gilbert pointed out that this was pretty good speeches from the Prime Minister and the Treasurer. Oh, but it should have happened yesterday. Each way, Albo.